Chokepoints.
Let's go.
Year-end edition.
Let's go.
It's always an emotional moment when we sit down and contemplate the choke points of the past year. We've covered tolls, sound transit construction, graffiti, more construction. It's been a busy year. So Chris is here with some of his sentimental favorites.
Yes, and I'm going to start with the few successes that are out there. Sound Transit actually had a pretty good year, even with the continued delays and some light rail extensions and, of course, the continued budget issues. The agency opened up service to Linwood and the starter line through Bellevue. Here's Eastlink Executive Project Director John LeBeau. I talked to him before the opening in Bellevue.
I think for the public, it's the realization that we are going to have light rail on the east side, and they're going to see the advantages of having this kind of system in their backyard. I think the next step is to bring it across the lake, and it will be absolutely fabulous.
Of course, everyone's waiting for when it will get across the lake, and right now that is scheduled to happen sometime in the next year. Sometime in the next year.
No actual date.
No, sometime in 2025.
I've noticed that the construction activity on the bridge has slowed down considerably. It's no longer packed with, people bent over doing whatever it was
they're
they were
doing some weight testing and things. So you see the trains over there, things packed with weight to make sure that they can get across there okay. So that is happening. For the first time in history, Sound Transit reached into the suburbs out of Seattle, opening the extension to Linwood. That's been a good thing. Here's Deputy CEO Russ Arnold right before the opening.
Wait until people realize I'm going to go down to a Mariners game. I'm going to go to Seahawks, you can get to a Husky game from here now. Don't have to. So when people start to realize that, that's my concern, every day. How do we make sure that we can meet what people expect every day?
And it's been a pretty big success. People tell me they love riding that thing there. It's giving them another option. However, the parking lot is nowhere near good enough to handle the amount of people that are using that full all the time, full very early in the morning. And one of the reasons for that, I believe, has led to kind of the negative part of the opening of light rail in Linwood, because all the people who used to ride the bus out of Snohomish County could do it in one seat. They'd get on their bus, the bus would go to Seattle. Now that bus drops them in Linwood, and they have to get on the train. So what I've heard from a lot of drivers, the people who would normally take those buses and park at other park and rides are now driving directly to Linwood.
I see.
And that's what's also making the parking issue there more tight. So I've seen less people park at McCollum Park, less people at Ashway, less people up in the middle of the freeway there off of 112. So that's something, maybe one of the unintended consequences of that. But we'll still mark that as a positive. Now, tolling, of course, is always a huge issue. It continues to be so. The state increased the max rates on 405 and 167 on March 1st, and that's when we were told the rate would rarely hit that $15 max.
It's a reminder that, yes, it doesn't get there very often, and only when it really has to.
How many days have you heard that? It hit the $15 max on day one, and the toll roads continue to hit the max over 70% of the time during the morning commutes. Now, they don't stay there very long. The average toll is not $15, obviously, but it is hitting it. And, of course, it's expected that the rates are going to go up to an $18 maximum next year, and the 3+ HOV requirement will also likely be expanded. So tolling is going to continue to be a big issue going into next year. Speaking of dollars and cents, the tax on polluters, known affectionately as the Climate Control Act, went into effect this year and pushed gas prices through the roof while doing very little for the climate, at least in 1 year. Prices at the pump jumped as much as 50 cents a gallon because of this tax. And while the tax has fallen off throughout the year because analysts expected the CCA to be struck down by voters, the price at the carbon auctions fell in anticipation of that. Well, since voters decided to keep taxing themselves, the prices at the auctions are going back up, and the gas prices will probably jump about 20 cents here over the next couple of months as those auction prices are starting to be reflected again. So let's wrap up now with a little bit of fun with your favorite topic, Dave, which is, of course, graffiti.
Yes.
2024 saw the debut of the anti-graffiti drone on the freeways around Tacoma, packed with 8 motors, 150 feet of hose, intelligent collision avoidance, 2 batteries, and a 6-foot nozzle. If Tigers can get there, so can this bad boy.
This is not your average buy it at Costco drone, right? This is an industrial grade aircraft with a 6-foot long wand connected to an airless sprayer that's capable of, of lots of pressure, meaning thrust.
WashDOT's Olympic Region Maintenance Manager, Mike Gauger, liked the drone so much that he's asking the state legislature to expand the program in the next year. We also found out that Tacoma has tried your favorite fake ivy
Yes.
to combat its graffiti problem. Ray Bailey is the Public Works Division Manager in Tacoma. He says that the city bought 2 types of fake ivy.
We had what we called the panels, which was a 1 by 1 foot panel of ivy, and then we had individual strands of ivy as well. Tried both of them in various areas throughout the city to kind of mixed reviews. Some of it was really good, and some of it didn't work as well as we had hoped.
The panels were a little less successful because people could spray right over the top of them. The strands seemed to work a little bit better. It's prohibitively expensive. They stopped the project during the pandemic, and then the company that they got their fake ivy from went out of business during the pandemic. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So those are my top transportation stories of the year. You can hit me up on the text line of what you think are some of the others. I mean, there's big things. I mean, Montlake is pretty much wrapped up there for the 520 construction project. A lot of fish passage work going on. So I'd always like to know what you think is the most important.
Well, thank you, Tacoma, for at least trying it anyway. You could have the new drone just paint like ivy leaves on the retaining walls.
Well, you could do that, or you could use that anti-graffiti drone to shoot down all the other drones that are
I was just thinking
that is out there around the world right now that has everybody so freaked out.
I was wondering if any of those Joneses happen to wander off into New Jersey.
Yeah, it's possible. This would be hard to because it has 100 feet of hose attached to it for the paint, so it's kind of tethered in some way.
Do you have a video of that?
Yeah. We can get that up. It's primarily done through we have it from the testing. They wouldn't.
Yeah.
We couldn't go there while they were actually physically doing it.
So there's the tank itself. The paint tank is on the ground.
Correct.
And it's tethered by the hose.
By the hose, and so there's an operator there. There's a paint feeder to make sure that it's constantly doing a thing. But it seems to get to places that is probably better than putting workers up there for it, safer.
Well, sure.
So
and also the hose guarantees it can't escape.
That's true. If the AI takes over, you can still bring that thing in.
And now, on the Sound Transit crossing I-90, why are they not setting a date?
I think because until they get a little bit better handle on where they are in the testing, they'll probably say, middle of the year, late of the year. Right now, it just says 2025 because let's not forget, this is the first time in history, world history, that anyone has put a moving train on a floating bridge.
Right. They want to get it right. But have your inside sources indicated that any, I mean, it's always good. I mean, they put the big fat trucks across the bridge, right, to test that even before they built anything. So there's been a lot of testing. They're doing testing now. But I haven't heard like the inside scoop on the results of those tests. If you have any any concerns of any kind?
Not yet. No. And again, I think this week, the Sound Transit Board meeting, I think, will be this week, so we might get an update on that because they probably won't have it next Thursday, day after Christmas. So we can check into that, see what's on the itinerary, and maybe we'll get an update on how things are going there.
And just so we know, there is still going to be a policy that if the winds get above what?
What is it? I think it's 35
miles an hour?
35 to 50. I can check that for you. I can't remember that one off mine.
They would still close it down.
Yeah, because, I mean, let's face it, up and down and side to side is not very good for a fixed track conveyance.